In the wake of CBN court order freezing accounts of persons allegedly linked to NSAS protesters and the order by the Commissioner of Justice in Lagos to release arrested people, we probe into lingering issues on the NSAS protests. And Senate President Lawan is warning against a second wave of nationwide protests as he asks leaders to take necessary action to stop the nationwide uprising. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Okimaloye in Lagos. Before we delve into the matter for tonight, because my guest tonight will be telling us a lot that you need to know as regarding the NSAS protests and the aftermath. The actions of government, especially in Lagos State, where major of those incidents happened. We'll be hearing from the Attorney General of Lagos State and the Commissioner for Justice. But before we get into that, let's tell you that the Senate President Lawan has warned that Nigeria may not escape another citizens' restiveness in the manner of the NSAS protests if it fails to effectively address the problem of youth unemployment. Senator Lawan gives the warning on Monday during the budget defense session of the Ministry of Agriculture at the National Assembly. He's advising government to take the agriculture sector more seriously in its efforts to diversify the economy from oil, stressing that the sector is able to finance the national budget. Tonight, we take a look at some of the lingering issues on the NSAS protests and the latest developments. But before we get into that, let's tell you some of the stories that you need to know in our political roundup.
President Muhammadu Buhari has said that Nigerian youths would do well to keep the peace in their own interests. The president was speaking at the State House in Abuja while receiving the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed. This is coming on the heels of the destruction of properties in the aftermath of the NSAS protests. Retired Air Vice Marshal Ahmed Muazu is the new acting chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission as Professor Mahmood Yakubu bows out temporarily after spending the statutory 5-year term while awaiting the confirmation of his reappointment by the Senate. Speaking at the handing over ceremony at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, the outgoing chairman notes that the choice of retired Air Vice Marshal Muazu to pilot the affairs of the commission is a consensus among the National Electoral Commissioners. The All Progressives Congress in Ebonyi State has asked the national leadership of the party to consider zoning the 2023 presidency to the Southeast region based on equity and fairness. This was disclosed at a stakeholders meeting organized by leaders of the party in Abakaliki, the state capital.
I also recognize and welcome.
While commending the achievements and developmental strides of the Dave Umahi-led administration in Ebonyi State, the leaders say they are still optimistic that Governor Dave Umahi will soon join the APC.
I believe if we consolidate the APC as a political party, that we may have that chance of fielding a candidate as a people that can win the presidential election.
For the second time in 5 days, embattled chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Osun State, Mr. Soji Adagunwodo, has been locked out of office even after securing a court order reinstating him. Mr. Adagunwodo, who was accompanied to the party secretariat by some party faithful, was prevented from gaining access as all doors leading to the office were locked.
Thank you so much, everyone, and let's get into it. So much has been happening in the wake of the NSAS protests, and some of the the unruly actions of hoodlums and those destructive elements who destroyed properties across most cities of the country. And so the NSAS protest has generated loads of controversies, with government saying it is committed to the demands and hearing the young Nigerians who took to the street after weeks of online agitations over what they're asking for, the end to police brutality. But last week, a federal high court in Abuja granted the request of the Central Bank of Nigeria to freeze the accounts of 19 individuals and a public affairs company linked to the NSAS protest. Justice Ahmed Mohammed granted the request of the CBN filed on the 20th of October 2020. The court ordered the banks to freeze forthwith all transactions on the 20 accounts on the list annexed to the CBN's application as Exhibit A and all the bank accounts of the defendants and respondents for a period of 180 days, pending the outcome of investigation and inquiry currently being conducted by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And in that respect, the Judicial Panel of Inquiry recently set up to look into police brutality in Lagos and related matters, on Saturday suspended its sitting following the withdrawal of 2 youth representatives from the panel. The Saturday proceeding was stalled after the panel could not form a quorum. Mrs. Okuobi announced the adjournment of the sitting, stating that the 2 members of the panel, Bolatito Olorunrinu and Temitope Majekodunmi, have withdrawn. Their withdrawal from the panel followed the freezing of Ms. Olorunrinu's account and 19 others for their participation in the NSAS protest. Over the weekend, too, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos, Muyosore Onigbanjo, has directed the release of 253 persons arrested by police following the violence carried out in the state, including burning of public properties in the aftermath of the NSAS protest. Let's begin the conversation and let's speak with Mr. Onigbanjo, the Attorney General of Lagos and the Commissioner for Justice. He joins us from Victoria Island in his office in Lagos. Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner, for joining us. Let's get your immediate reaction to the situation at the Lagos panel, where a quorum has not been formed by leading the chairperson of the panel to suspending sitting because of the withdrawal of the youth representatives, Olorunrinu, Ms. Olorunrinu. What is your immediate reaction to that situation?
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. So my take is that whilst the CBN was reported to have obtained an ex parte order freezing the accounts of 19 persons, including one of the panel members, and that incident has led to the panel not forming a quorum to adjourn till sometime next week. My take is that, well, I mean, I would think that the representative of the youths on the panel who were affected by this CBN decision to freeze their accounts should bear 2 things in mind. One is that by the panel not forming quorum, then it means that all the victims of SARS abuses in Lagos, which they have been clamoring for, will not get the compensation which they seek and which the state government thinks they deserve. So that all those people now are affected for no fault of theirs. They cannot get their compensation for no fault of theirs because the panel member has some legal issues with the CBN. The CBN, this problem is not the state's making. The state has no control over the CBN. The state is interested in ensuring that people who suffered abuses in Lagos State get their day, they ventilate, and they get the compensation which the panel awards to them. Also, very crucially and critical, is that there have been so many allegations about what happened at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October of this year, again, that very, very crucial investigation will not be able to go on because of this quorum issue. And I think that issue really is one that, in the interest of Lagos State, in the interest of even the nation, it's very important that that panel investigates and unravels what happened at Lekki in that evening. So I will be urging the affected panel member and the other youth representative to resume their seats at the panel. So because the CBN got a court order against their account, I believe that that decision can be challenged on its own. They can go to court and challenge that decision of the CBN, and at the same time, let the panel continue the work which impacts on the lives of so many people in Lagos State, and which also touches on what happened at the Lekki toll gate. So for that reason, I think that the youth representatives should come back to the panel in view of the number of people that will be affected by their decision not to go ahead with this because of the CBN issue that they have.
Let me allow you to listen to the chair of the panel on Saturday when she suspended the sitting. Take a listen to the retired justice.
In their absence, we are handicapped. We cannot take any proceedings.
I totally agree. I just wanted to
until
clarify.
all proceedings stand adjourned until the. Thank you very much.
And so that there will be faith and confidence and trust, and we go on.
Well, the NSAS protesters have made what they called a popular 5 for 5 demand. Let's just remind you of some of those things that they were asking for. The immediate release of all arrested persons and protesters, justice for deceased victims of police brutality, and appropriate compensation for them, setting up of an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and restraining of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed, an increase in the police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we continue our conversation with Mr. Moyosore Onugbanjo, the Attorney General of Lagos and the Commissioner for Justice. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation with the Attorney General of Lagos and the Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Moyosore Onugbanjo. Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. I guess you can hear me now. And I was going to ask you about the fate of the panel should the youth representative decide to discontinue because of their grievances over the action of the court being pursued by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Well, the fate of the panel, I mean, they are independent. And so the state government has left them entirely to decide their procedure, to fix their quorum. So it's up to them to decide whether, if the youths pull out, what will happen to their sittings. But if these two sets of representatives, let's assume for sake of argument that they pull out, we believe that youth representative might send other representatives to the panel because of, as I said, the very important work that this panel is set up to do. We, of course, appreciate the difficulties involved with anyone's accounts being frozen, but we also at the same time know that if the representative is not happy about this decision, legal steps can be taken to address that situation. and at the same time, the work of the panel, which, to my mind, affects a lot of people, because all this issue started because people felt that, oh, SARS has abused so many people's rights, and as such, this is then an opportunity for affected people to come forward, and it will be sad if this issue of the CBN action then goes in the way of preventing compensation being paid to all these people, and also prevents the investigation of what happened at Lekki Toll Gate on the 20th of October.
Mr. Nibanjo, how do you weigh the situation when, on one hand, the federal government is saying we're speaking to the young persons and we're going to meet the demand, and on another hand, there seems to be the use of the stick against some of those who are behind the protest?
Sorry, say that again.
So the question is, on one hand, the federal government says is listening to the demands and the agitation of the young persons and what has become of their demands in the aftermath of the protests that started online and we saw on the street. And on the other hand, the federal government seems to be wielding the stick, the big stick, on those who are behind the protest.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm not privy to whatever led to the federal government taking any of the decisions it has taken with regards to what has happened. And I believe that the federal government are in the best position to explain the rationale for the steps that they have taken. We as a state are just concerned with ensuring that the due process of law is put in place for compensation to be paid, for the investigations to be carried out legitimately, independently, and that for closure to be able to be put to all these issues in the best interest of the state. That's our main concern. The federal authorities, I mean, they're in the best position to explain what they have done.
React to the assessment of the situation, the court order, by a legal expert who described the action as draconian.
Are you asking for my reaction to that statement by the legal expert?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, so many people, of course, would have different reactions to what has happened. That legal expert is entitled to his opinion. As far as we are concerned, we are just focusing on our remit, which is that there's been an issue with SARS abuse, and within the limit of the law, we want to resolve those issues. We also want to resolve the issue of what happened at the Lekki Toll Gate in the evening of the 20th of October 2020. So, I mean, you know, if you call maybe 10 lawyers, it's not unlikely that they all have different opinions about about the legal effect of what has happened, and they are very well entitled to their views.
So let's perhaps wrap up the conversation, Mr. Onigbanjo, on this note. Is the state government thinking, on one hand, dialogue in some of the agitations that we've seen, and perhaps are you also ready for the possibility of a return of the street protests?
A return of what?
The protests on the streets.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last thing you said.
The
a return
question
of what, sir?
Is it, yeah, The first part is the fact that is the government in Lagos State thinking in the line of dialoguing with having a dialogue with these young persons on some of their demands, and on one other hand, are you ready as a state government in the case of a return of the street protest?
I still don't get it. But look, the state government has demonstrated its readiness to dialogue with everybody. The governor was the very first governor to go to the Lekki toll gate to meet with the protesters, and they also he met with them at Lekki. He also met with them at Alausa. He took their demands to President in Abuja, President Buhari in Abuja. So all along we've engaged. Even when we set up the judicial panel of inquiry, even though there was no requirement for Mr. Governor to do so, we gave an opportunity for the people protesting, our youths, to choose their own representatives. The governor did not impose anybody on them. They came up at their own time with the people they wanted to represent them on the panel. So, of course, the state government is more than willing to dialogue, and we will continue to dialogue because we feel that, dialogue is the only way to resolve any impasse such as we have or such as we had during the SARS protests.
All right, Mr. Moyosore Oniwenjo, thank you indeed for talking to us. At some point, also, we'd like to engage you on some other aspect of this conversation. But indeed, thank you so much for your time tonight. But that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.